There we go. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay, and there's member Abrams. Good. So we are calling to order the Albany Arts Committee meeting for June 14th. There's member Abrams. Good. And I am going to hand it off to staff to go ahead with roll, to take on roll, and then we'll jump in.
Yes, thank you, Chair Gash. Somebody may have their speakers on. I did hear a quick reverb there, but I don't hear it now. So wonderful. This is not necessarily the perfect time for this, but our wonderful senior supervisor, Keenan McCarran, is here behind the scenes. He's going to help me out facilitating this meeting. So he will do the roll call and the votes. So Keenan, super great up and comer in the recreation department, and I'm going to leave it to him to do a roll call.
All right. Chair Gatch.
Here.
Member Abrams.
Here.
Member Briggs. Oh, sorry. Member Black.
Here.
Member Bregman. No. Member Smotsky.
Here.
Member Goodman.
Here. Okay, so we have quorum, so we are going to begin the meeting. The first item for the meeting is approval of minutes, and then we'll go into public comment. I will just say we have lost one member of the committee member. Daley Richards is no longer a member of the committee, so we are looking for a replacement for Daley Richards. As far as the minutes go, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Okay, and do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, and if we can go ahead. Liam, can I ask, is this typically, would staff do the vote as well?
Yes. And Keenan can take care of that as well.
Great.
All right, so vote Chair Gatch.
Yes.
Member Abrams.
Yes.
Member Black.
Yes.
Member Brigman. Oh, not there. Member Goodman.
Yes.
Member Smotsky.
Yes.
Okay, so the minutes have been approved. We're now going to go to item number 3 on the agenda, which is public comment. And this is for anyone to address the commission on an item that is not currently on the agenda. And time for public comment will be limited to 2 minutes. If we can go ahead and do that. And do we currently have public comment?
We do have one public comment, and I'm going to give Keenan just a second to get his timer set to 2 minutes, and then we'll have Jeremiah take it away. So Keenan, whenever you're ready, give us the shout out.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, thank you. And Anne, I am not a host. Can you bring Jeremiah in? Sorry for quick technical difficulties here. Hey, Anne, I need to be a host so I can bring the public comment in.
Jeremiah, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Jeremiah here. I just want to say I noticed a lot of really, really nice sidewalk chalk art on Solano Avenue, you know, and also at the high school in front of the aquatic center in the red zone. I think that's such a great community builder. You know, it's summertime. I think the sidewalk chalk thing is a great community art project, you know, art in public spaces and things like that. You know, even over here at Cornell School on the playground, I'm looking at chalk art right here. So that was a great idea. Whoever thought of that, you know, a bunch of kudos. It turned out to be a great thing. And I was just wondering, you know, if me or anybody wanted to do something like that, I was just wondering, you know, are there any rules we would be breaking if, let's say, someone were to do sidewalk chalk on, let's say, Solano Avenue, you know, just on your own free time? Is that illegal to draw on Solano Avenue? You know, let's say a kid is out there drawing on a public park, you know, a sidewalk or chalk or something like that. I just want to know the rules on, you know, borderline / vandalism, or I'm sure if the art was beautiful and it's not anything disrespectful, I think it would be okay. But I just want to encourage, you know, more chalk art, because it's temporary, it's easy to do, and you can kind of do it at your own pace. So is that okay on the Albany Greenway? Is that okay in the public parks? Or how is that going to be okay? Thanks.
Thank you, Jeremiah. My understanding, just to respond to it real quickly, is that there was a court case in Berkeley many years ago that decided that that chalk in public spaces, as long as they weren't private spaces and as long as there wasn't an obstruction to the flow of traffic, was legal. I am not a lawyer, so I can't give you legal advice in that regard, but that's to the best of my understanding. At least in Berkeley, it's considered legal. Maybe staff has additional information on that.
Staff can certainly get back to the committee and the member of the public with a specific answer. I do know that chalk is not permanent, so it is just as much of a concern about safety and use of space. Solano's a pretty busy street, so just from that regard, I will need to get back to the committee and the public comment about the legality of it, but I also always encourage all of our residents to stay as safe as possible. And then also just, you know, keep in mind that that there is lots of chalk art at the parks. You know, kids go to the parks and color on there, and then it just gets washed off by the sprinklers. So that's a great place to see some beautiful chalk art, as well as the crosswalks, which the public comment mentioned.
Great. Do we have any additional public comment for agenda item 3?
No, there is no public comment.
Okay. Then we will move to agenda item 4, which is announcements from staff and committee members. If there's any reports or updates from previous agenda items that are not specifically on the agenda for tonight.
I will give my time to any committee members that would like to give an update, but staff has an update as well.
Okay, I saw member Abrams' hand was up, so I want to recognize member Abrams.
Hi, yeah, I'll make this quick. A couple of weeks ago, as my business, not as a art committee member, Janelle Gary came to me and asked me to help her organize a Juneteenth event, which I emailed the committee about, so maybe you've seen that. So it is going along well. There's just a few snags, but basically along with Mr. C's and Lizzie's Cajun Cafe, Abrams Claghorn is working with the city and a few other people to put on a big Juneteenth event. We're closing down a very short section of Masonic Avenue, basically alongside 904 Masonic, which is Mr. C's building, to have speakers and dancers and live music. And that should run from about 11 o'clock till about 2 or 3 o'clock. And then there are further events at my gallery where I have a Juneteenth show in the gallery. plus live music in the open lot next to the building.
Thank you. That sounds great. Any other announcements from committee members?
No, but I have a question
Yeah.
to Member Abrams. I saw a mural going up on the side of the building your gallery is in, on the the dirt lot side. Is that part of this Juneteenth, or whose mural is that?
So that mural I started last May as a almost kind of silly reaction to some graffiti. Someone had graffitied who stole all my Christmas trees. So I went and bought some green paint and some purple paint and decided to paint trees on the building. And so we just painted hillsides with trees. A couple of months ago, an artist came to me and she says, "Your mural doesn't look finished. Can I finish it?" And so she, along with my one remaining staff person, then took it upon themselves. Although they billed me for the paint, they have been working on finishing that mural.
Oh, thank you. I just noticed it, so I thought I'd ask.
It has nothing to do with Juneteenth. And I don't know how long it's going to take them to finish because now they have summer jobs. So,
Thank you.
I feel like it.
And Liam, you have a staff update also?
I do, yeah. We went back and forth about putting this on an actual agenda item, but here it is, the sculpture loan. If I'm sure everybody remembers, Eva Phelan, our wonderful community services manager, has moved on, but her final parting gift was taking extra diligent and specific notes on the contract for the artists to be installed, for the sculpture loan to be installed. And she has sent that on to the city attorney. So it is in great hands right now, and a contract is being officialized and created that we can then pass along to our artists. We also are beginning our talks with the Public Works Department on the pads. Again, remember, we do need still 2 pads for the pieces because the piece that we are not using was the gigantic piece that did need a pad. Public Works is a busy department, as we learned last time through this process, but we're committed to getting this done, and we just want to make sure that it's safe, no ADA tripping hazards or anything like that. So the wheels are certainly moving. It is still in staff's court, and hopefully we'll have an agenda item to discuss at the next meeting on where we are in a month.
Great. All right, last chance for announcements. I think we are good with announcements then. We're going to move forward to agenda item number 5. Do we have any presentations this evening?
No presentations this evening.
Okay. Then we are moving on to agenda item number 6, which is discussion and possible action on matters related to several items. 6.1 is the public art project in support of Black Lives and social justice. 6.2 will be Spring into Haiku. 6.3 will be a community projects update. And 6.4 will be the public art registry. So for 6.1, I will present what are the progress that we've made on the subcommittee and the language that was developed for the request for proposals that hopefully everyone had a chance to read and get through, and you're familiar with what that is. I'm going to give just a short presentation to kind of outline some of the key items in there, and then we'll have an opportunity for discussion and public comment if there is some. And is it possible, am I able to share my screen on this end?
Absolutely, Chair Gash. I shared it, but you please go ahead.
So I don't, unless we feel like we absolutely have to, I would prefer not to read through it line by line. I'm gonna go operate off of the assumption that everyone has had an opportunity to read it, and then we can kind of talk about it in either in broad strokes or specific comments when we get to the comments. So if I can, I'm going to try and go ahead and share screen and just kind of outline the overall kind of concept behind the call for proposals, and then we can kind of feel it out from there.
And then just really quickly, Chair Gash, the item is presented, staff members can ask questions, then we go to public comment, and then it comes back to the committee for discussion on the item.
Great. Let's see. All right. Is this visible to everyone? So really in constructing the request for proposals, I want to make it clear both to our committee and to anyone who's in attendance. The Arts Committee does not actually create art. We are not functioning as artists in this capacity. I know committee members are familiar with this, but members of the public that are attending may not be. So I just want to reiterate that what we are looking for are proposals from artists in the field, practicing artists, to submit proposals for a proposal. We are not suggesting a specific project at this time. We are simply looking to enable artists to create projects through a request for proposals. Within the construct of that request for proposals, this was worked on both within the subcommittee as well as vetted by outside arts professionals, including curators and professional artists as well. And there are really like kind of three kind of key ideas behind the request for proposals around a socially engaged project for Albany. And the first question is just, what is the difference? What do we mean when we say a socially engaged artwork? What is the difference between that and a representational artwork? So looking on the left side of the screen, as an example, we see a mural addressing gun violence. This is what would generally be regarded as a representational artwork. It is representing a cause or an idea. It might be aesthetically good, it might not be aesthetically good, but it is of a representational nature. On the right side, we are seeing one small image from a much larger project by Mexican-American artist Pedro Reyes. And this is a project called Palas por Paletas. And it's a project in which he worked with several different cities, first in Mexico and then in the United States, with a gun buyback program where the guns were then destroyed, melted down, turned into shovels, and the shovels were used to plant trees as a sort of living memorial and gesture around the city. It includes an exhibition component, it includes a workshop component, and it includes the kind of sculptural aspect of all of the shovels that were created from these guns. So again, not picking favorites between one or the other, I'm just trying to set up a space between how we can understand a project that represents an issue versus a project that is engaging community members to do something creative within the community together. If I can, oh, there we go. The second question in the call for proposals that we're trying to adjust is to say that when we invite artists to propose projects in Albany, is the work specific in some way to Albany? Is it specific to the site or the audience or the context or the history or the community? This is an example that we probably all well know. It's over in San Francisco. It's a Klaus Oldenburg sculpture. For those that may be unfamiliar with Klaus Oldenburg, he has a reputation for making mundane objects really large and putting them in public places. And there's often the official read on what the work is and a sort of unofficial read. So officially, we are told that this is, to give a brief art history here, we're told that this is Cupid's bow, and it's in San Francisco because this is a city of abounding love. And also the lines of the bow echo the lines of the bridge that you can see in the background. With many of Klaus Oldenburg's sculptures, there is often, like I said, a sort of more subversive or political aspect of the projects. And it's been stated with this work that the arrow going into the ground and the bow itself buried in the ground is an homage to indigenous culture and the history of the colonial history and history of genocide that exists within this land and exists historically within this land. And some people may say, oh, I don't know if that's really part of the read. Maybe you're just making that up. But one of the true telltale signs within this particular work is that when this work first went in, Oldenburg Studios said that all of the non-native grass would have to be pulled out, and this would go into place, and it would be planted with all native grasses. And San Francisco did not do that. And after it was in place, Oldenburg Studios said that the work would not be considered finished, and that San Francisco was in breach of contract until they in fact planted native grasses. And that key aspect of having native grasses in that site is part of that story and how that work is site specific, and in this case historically specific as well. Now, when we look at this work, of course, we see this as a monument, but we don't have to think of large static objects as monuments. And this brings us to the third point that I want to bring out within this call for proposals, which is to ask, is the project collaborative? Does it engage the community in a meaningful way? And again, just by as like one example, without going into too much detail, this is a project that was done by the city of New Orleans and by an art collaboration called Paper Monuments, in which they created a number of workshops and meetings and town halls with residents throughout New Orleans to ask them, what are the things that you would want to memorialize in this city? What are the stories that need to be told? What are the histories that need to be made visible? What communities and voices and residents can bring in their ideas of monumentalism into creating something? And then all of these proposals combined together were placed throughout the city, much in the same way that Member Goodman has done with the Haiku Project, to have these spread out throughout the city where people come face to face with how people are thinking about the topic of monument. And of course, it interrogates the topic of monument to think deeper about what it can be besides just a static sculpture. So I will leave off there, and we can, maybe Liam, you can pull up the draft call for proposals, and we can go into questions.
And really quickly, Aaron, just a matter of procedural. So this is the call for artists, and Chair Gash did a great job of hitting on all of the points that a call for artists needs to kind of embody in order to be a public art project per the master plan. I encourage everybody, to freshen up on the master plan as you move through this process, because there are a lot of good trinkets and notes in there about how to get public art, how to take a call to artists and move it all the way into finished art. Anyway, so tonight it'd be a good idea to go over this and direct staff to what to do next with this document, but also know that there should be future discussions, which could happen tonight or at a later meeting, about things like a selection panel, because this has been put on the PAPP at a rate of $10,000 per, pretty similar with the rest of our projects on the PAPP and work plan this year. So I will stop, but just everybody keep that in mind, that this is kind of the first step in many, and then approval for this just allows staff to kind of move it on to the next steps, i.e. city council, so on and so forth.
Right. Just to reiterate, that's ultimately where we're hoping to go with this, is to have an approval on the language of this so that we can move it forward to city council for their approval. And are there questions at this time from any committee members? I
don't have a question.
Yeah, Member Black.
I don't have a question. I just think you did a terrific job.
Oh,
I think it looks great. It's clear. It's where we want to go. I think, good job.
thank you so much. Well, if there's no other questions, then do we have any public comment?
Do not have any public comment at this time. There we go. Okay, we do have one public comment. Are we ready to enter that part? Everybody? Okay. Keenan, if you could get 2 minutes ready to go, and Jeremiah, we'll get you in here in just a sec. Okay. 2 minutes, Chair.
Yes, please.
Okay, whenever you're ready, Jeremiah, your time has begun.
Thank you, Liam. I just want to say I appreciate being so kind. I apologize. It's my grandpa Floyd's birthday, so I was just trying to multitask the birthday party and this at once. So I think this is great. I did send in a few photos. I wasn't 100% sure which agenda item those photos would be best in, 6.1 or 6.2 or 6.3. But I just hope you guys got a chance to see those. And this is wonderful. I just think this is great, and that's all I want to say about that is just keep up the good work. And this committee is doing such a great, this committee is already doing a lot of progress. I mean, the year's just started and there's a lot of things already happening. So I like to see, I really like to see that this committee is organized and everything's moving. So just keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah.
Let's move on.
Okay, yeah, I do not see any other public comments. So back to the committee for discussion.
Member Goodman?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have asked these questions earlier. Two questions. One is I noticed that the artist is supposed to be familiar with Albany. I guess I understand what that means, but there's no requirement that the artist, say, be from the East Bay or anything like that. They just simply that they have some connection or familiarity, demonstrable familiarity with the city.
Yes, that's correct. I think at least for the proposals, we're hoping to spread the net kind of as far as we can and see what comes in.
You think a local artist would be prioritized?
I don't, speaking just for myself, I don't know that a local artist would be prioritized. I would hope that we would prioritize the best proposal, which ideally might come from a local artist. And that could certainly be a consideration. If we had two really wonderful proposals, one from an artist who was local and one who was not, I think we might weigh that familiarity as a benefit for the capability of that artist to actually pull off the project that they're proposing. So I think in a pragmatic sense, yes, I could imagine that there's a priority for a local artist looking to collaborate, but I wouldn't say that we would support a local artist over a regional artist simply because they were local if the regional artist had a what the committee deemed to be a better project idea.
Okay, thanks. My second question has to do with the budget, which is $10,000. My question is two parts. One is all that $10,000 coming from the Art and Public Places Fund?
Currently it is. Currently it is. There is, if, for example, we received a proposal in which some aspect of the project could not be funded through that measure, we could potentially go to City Council to ask for additional funding to support that. But as it's written right now, we're hoping that that $10,000 comes out of the art in public places.
So the sort of, say, public performance art or community and engagement art is not fundable by art in public places.
Yeah, so good question. I think we've made some progress with staff on this. Staff has already looked over this and they have given their blessing on it. What we've included in the language is a must clause, which states that if the project is, let's say, durational or process-based or there's a performative or event-based aspect to it, that the project still must resolve in a form that coincides with the ordinance. So that's to say that if, in a typical sense, if we were to do a public sculpture, we would acknowledge the fact that that work has many processes that happen before it arrives on Albany and gets sited in Albany. We wouldn't say that the bulldozer that's clearing the ground is a performance that can't be funded to place a sculpture work. And in the same sense, again, depending on the proposals that we get, if there's a proposal that resolves perhaps even ultimately as a mural, if it involves getting members of the community together to create something together, that creation, that gathering, that's kind of social aspect to it might be the real value of the project, but it still has to then resolve in the form of that mural. We couldn't just do a gathering and call it a day.
All right. So, Joe, you kind of need to end up with some physical art.
Right. And the language in the RFP is specifically taken from our ordinance where it says, however, the final work must resolve in one of the following forms. And those following forms are exactly as it's written in the ordinance.
Okay, well, it's great that you took that into account. Then the last thing is the $10,000. I guess we've all heard how expensive things have gotten just since the beginning of the year, with a lot of raw materials going up astronomically in price, wood especially, and I imagine other commodities, just a lot of demand. So my concern, I guess, is what can we actually expect to get for $10,000? And if we really decide that that's not going to get us anything substantial or worthy of the goal of the project itself, is there a provision for increasing the budget in some way? It's not like we're suddenly entering the $10,000 threshold, which creates a whole host of requirements for the committee oversight, since we're already there. So it just seems like a matter of, can the budget be increased if we have to?
I think that's an excellent question. And I have to say it weighs on my mind a little bit too, in terms of, especially because that $10,000 also includes the artist fee and the documentation of the project, if that's folded into the proposal. So that $10,000 can go very quickly. I don't know. I know that from past conversations in terms of in developing this, there was that question of if it's over $10,000, it changes the process by which we could approve something. And the hope was that we could, ideally move something along quicker than has happened in the past. But there I'm certainly open to increasing the budget if we feel like that's going to create the best chances of success.
I mean, you think it'd be better to consider increasing the budget before we make the announcement, since presumably some established artists aren't even going to pay any attention to it. I don't know how high we have to go to get, a higher caliber of artists, and maybe that's not important considering the nature of the product being a kind of a community project. I mean, that doesn't matter. It's something to consider.
It's a really good question. There have in the past been some really good projects that have been done within that budget, and that artists, even professional artists, will operate with the mindset of okay, this budget is one of the parameters. So what could happen within the scope of this
Sure.
budget? You know, and it won't look like, you're absolutely right. It won't look like a giant bronze sculpture with that budget. It simply can't. But I would love to hear other people's thoughts on it as well, because I agree with you, Peter, that that's in balance for me as well. Does anyone else have any thoughts on the budget, on whether it should be raised or not?
I, for one, think it should be raised. I don't think it's enough anymore. The price, like Peter said, the prices are just astronomical, and the artist needs to get paid, honestly. And so I would much prefer if it was increased.
Member
I
Abrams,
don't
you
know
also
how to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we have to make sure that the artists get paid properly for their time and their design and everything else. It's tricky on how to put that into the proposal because I think if we say it's $30,000 instead of $10,000, it's kind of like having that large suitcase that the artists will do what they can to fill that budget. So I think, keeping it open and just saying, propose what you want, and then in our discussions we can say, how we can ask the artist ideally what would they like to do and what would that cost. But if we start with a lower amount, maybe we can get some really good art and some good community project art for less money somehow, so that we can stretch it into more projects.
I totally agree with that. You can't say it'll be $30,000, right? You're gonna put it out there, and they're gonna give you a budget, put their price in, put the price of materials, and then you're gonna look at it. And we could get some really great art that way, but they will be stating their own fees. That'll be part of the thing. I think that's a good
Would
good
you
way
at
to
least
do it.
would you put a cap on it then? And
I guess you
the
could.
budget is a consideration, up to $30,000 or whatever.
Yes. That could be a really good way to do it.
Is there a particular, I mean, I hear that number 30,000 being thrown around. Is that amenable to everyone, or do we want to change that number?
You mean as a cap?
As a cap, or as a budget?
Yes, I think I would agree with that, as long as it wasn't like everybody just gets $30,000, because like he was saying, you just start to get infill, when people are trying to use up the money. So put a cap on it and then have people apply and put their expenses down. And I think that's a great way to.
So is 30,000 the number then? Is that what we want to go with?
I think it could be a reasonable cap for sure.
I don't have an opinion. I have no idea what it should be, so I defer to the artist.
I don't know what it should be either, but I do believe if we set the goal as a cap of $30,000, everybody will come in at $30,000. That's how it works, I think. I could be naive in that approach.
Member Smotsky, you're muted.
I agree with that, Cheryl, but what you're doing then is each artist is submitting their plan and their expenses that will be examined. And it's up to that examining committee to figure out if those are supported or not. So yes, probably they will pad them, but then, they'll be risking being turned down because of it.
We could put in a line that says seeking proposals between $10,000 and $30,000.
I think that's a better way to go, or to say, have a cap of 30,000 and saying that the budget will be consideration, I'm not sure how to word it, but, if you come up with something less expensive that is just as, viewed just as favorably, you're likely to get it. So people would have to decide, how to best use the money.
I think that makes sense. So I guess what we're looking for at this point is a motion to change the language, or to approve with a language change, ideally.
Can I interrupt just a little bit, Chair Gatch?
Sure.
The only thing, and this, I need an answer. So I do not have one right now. I need to follow up with this. The only catch I see here is just that we had a PAPP already approved by council. I think that I think that there might be a way that we can, just like Aaron or Chair Gash, where I think you were getting with this, is redoing the language of the entire piece to include the monetary change as well as the call for artists, which it sounds like everyone is on the same page as. I just want everyone to just hesitate for just 1 sec, because I need to figure out if that's the correct procedural method to do that. And if for some reason we do need to come back, because this needs to be an agendized item, the PAPP specifically, then I can help facilitate that. But I just want everyone to keep that in mind, that the changing the cost on something that City Council has already approved, I need to find out what we need to do to adjust that first before I can guarantee us taking the next steps with this as one piece. So I still think it's a good idea to have the motion and include the language for the monetary part as well as the approval of language, but just know how that shakes out in future meetings. I will need to get back to the Arts Committee members on.
Okay. So we can still have a motion to approve with the changed language, and there may be an update following.
Yeah, I don't think that there's anything wrong with making that motion. I think that if we were need to do something more procedural, that motion would just unfortunately need to be done again at a later date. So I think making a motion now, having that language in there, especially with the call for artists, is important at this meeting because you're doing so much great work on it. Just know that the next steps may need to be adjusted pending what I hear back from the procedural questions.
Okay. Am I able to make a motion, or do I have to call for a motion?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to make a motion to approve with a language change indicating that proposals should be within the range of 10 to 30,000, not to exceed 30,000.
Okay. One more time, that you approve the call for artists with the language change of not to exceed.
I'm trying to pull up real quickly here. The language.
I can also rewatch and listen again to get it exactly. No, we should get it right now.
So right now in the section of budget, it says the total budget for proposed projects should not exceed $10,000, including an artist fee and all production costs. So the proposed change, I think, is the total budget for proposed projects should not exceed $30,000, including an artist fee.
Oh, no, I think.
Go ahead.
I think we need to say, but between 10 and $30,000. I think we need to give them this whole range. I think we don't want to say not above $30,000. I think we want to say it's clearer in terms of what I think we want. Yes, no?
Yeah, that sounds good to me. So the proposed change would be the total budget for proposed projects should be between $10,000 and $30,000, including an artist fee and all production costs. Does that sound right?
Artist fee and production costs. Sorry, was that low?
Yeah, that's already in there. So
Yeah.
that's just the next
It
phrase,
does.
Yeah.
including an artist fee and all production costs.
Okay.
And do we have a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay. And staff, can you take a vote?
Chair Gatch,
Yes.
Member Abrams,
Yes,
Member Black,
Yes,
Member Brigman,
Yes.
Member Goodman,
Yes,
Member Smutsky.
Yes.
Great. It passes with the proposed change, and then I'll leave it up to staff to get all the gears lubricated and working accordingly. Let's hope.
Yeah, absolutely. And the language is great in that call for artists. So again, just for people keeping up at home, we are doing that. There may need to be a superseded motion above that, but at least you have taken that action at this meeting.
Great. We are going to keep it moving then to item 6.2, which is spring into haiku. So I will turn it over to Member Goodman.
right. So last weekend, I went out and put out 31 signs on the Spring into Haiku program. 24 of them are on Solano. They run from Tulare in the east, which is the far eastern border of Albany, all the way down to, I believe it's Madison Street, which is one past Adams on Solano. And then 7 of them are scattered in parks, like in Jules Terrace Park. There's 2 in Memorial Park. There's one by the Tot Lot in Dartmouth. There's one in front of the Albany Community Center. And I think there's one at City Hall. I had a lot of trouble actually getting, I guess with the drought and everything, some of the ground is just like concrete. So I did the best I could trying to get them into places where they're visible. And that is, it's a bit less than what we did in Fall into Haiku at the end of 2019. But it means that we may have some money left over. The Albany Community Foundation is now funding this program because the city is no longer, or decided that it wasn't able to do that anymore. So we had a budget of like around $850, I think, and I don't think we even used half of that. So we have some money left over, and Becca Black, the ex-poet laureate, is hopeful that we can do a Fall into Haiku. I'm a little undecided myself. I kind of weary of, not sure I want to do it again so soon. But it is possible. And if it does take place, it occurs to me that some of the, since it's not decided now and we're off in August, that I should kind of get prior approval to move ahead with Fall into Haiku if all the stars align and it becomes possible to do it. So I guess that would be my ask of the committee at this time. But anyway, it's I will leave the signs up until the last weekend in June, so they'll be up for a total of about 3 weeks. And I'll take them down and I'll turn them over to the city. And I think what we've done in the past is offer them to the poets if they want them.
Thank you, Peter. It
Oh,
looks
yeah.
great.
Oh yeah, there's a map. Shows where all the poems are, and you can click on one of the numbers there and you get the poem that pops up. Thank you, Google Maps.
Is this the first time, Peter, that this has been done with the map?
No, there were previous maps, and up until last year, I could find them, and they seem to have disappeared, which is kind of a shame, because what I did in previous years was I would simply create a different layer. So it'd be possible for somebody to actually go and look at all the poems of past years as well, but that I can't do that anymore. So if anyone finds any of these lying around on the ground or stuck away, maybe you could let me know or let Liam know, and come and replace them. People generally treat them pretty well. I haven't seen that any are missing, but still early.
And just as Peter had mentioned, if any of you know any of the haiku artists and they would like them back after they're posted, contact. Well, they can contact you. Can put anybody in contact with me, but we'll send an email address out to all the committee members of how people can get in touch with us to get their piece back.
I just want to say they look really great, Peter, and I've heard from people that have come across them that it gave them a sense of normalcy post.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I think timing was pretty good, with June 15th being the open date. It looks like this was all planned and, well in advance, but it really wasn't.
Well, do we have any, since it's an agenda item, do we have any comments, any additional comments from committee members? And then we'll go to public comment if there's public comment as well. Cheryl, you're muted.
I love this project. It makes me smile every time I run into a haiku. It's just so around a lot in town, and it's just a joy to come across them. Absolutely.
Great. All right. Liam, do we have any public comments?
Yes, there is one public comment. Get our timer going here. All right. And then Jeremiah, you are ready to go.
Thank you, Liam. I just love these haikus. I did see pretty much every single one on Solano. Mr. Goodman, you guys did such a great job with this. It looks like it's very well organized and it's out in the public. And I just want to say congratulations at a job well done for all this hard work and months and months and months of preparation. So I just want to say thank you. And I hope this continues in Albany for years and years to come. And it's just a wonderful thing. So yeah, if I happen to find any laying down, I'll either just put it right back up, keep everything looking nice. Well, keep up the good work. Thank you, everybody.
Great. Thank you, Jeremiah. Are there any other public comments? Peter, is there any particular agenda action, like action on the agenda item that you'd like to take tonight?
Well, the program per se has been approved, so I guess I'm not sure I have to take a vote, or we have to take a vote on whether we can go ahead with doing it this fall, if that's possible. This is June, so it could be in July. I can come back with an agenda item. There'll be enough time for that. But in case that's not the case, I just kind of like the committee to know that there might be a fall into haiku coming up as well. Liam, is that something that needs to be voted on, do you think? Or
Member Goodman, since we do action minutes, I always think it's a good idea to do a motion like that, just so we have it noted somewhere that the committee agreed to do a fall right after a wonderful spring to it. That being said, that can be at the July meeting. We're more than happy to agendize it. But when it does come time for the committee to decide to do a fall into haiku as well, I think we should make a motion so that it's in the minutes.
Okay, then let's leave it till July then. That should be enough time.
Okay. Great. And any final discussion for this agenda item? All right, then we will keep it moving. Item 6.3 is community projects update on the community projects mural. This will be a staff update.
Thank you, Chair. I was really hoping to have more some good news for the committee. So just to fill everybody in, the community projects was part of the last PAPP, the 19 to 21 PAPP. We are now at the end of it. The artist who was selected was, we are getting ready to go. There was some hiccups with the insurance and the contract, but we are working through it. And then unfortunately, COVID happened. Without giving a long line of excuses of why things just couldn't get back together, we did drag their feet a little bit with getting the contract ready to go. Unfortunately, we learned earlier this year that the original artist was leaving was going back to Colombia, where he was from. And so the business partner of the artist, Jimena, who came to this arts committee, remember Christian is the artist, Jimena is more of the business side, suggested that if we could find another artist, or if they could find another artist, would we like to pursue? And then since communicating with Jimena, we have learned that that she is unfortunately moving out of the country as well. So it does put us in a little bit of a predicament. However, staff is willing to, staff has been trying to make contacts and is willing to work with the current artist who we did select for this mural, the Debunking Stereotypes through Muralism, to see if they have another artist that they think could fulfill this vision. What that would mean, though, is they would need to come back in front of the arts committee. You would need to interview them. You would need to approve them as the art. And then there may be a mock-up, there may be changes to the work that come through. So it's kind of like starting the process again. The arts committee could also pivot and reopen the community projects application process. If we do talk to Jimena and Christian Munoz, who were the selected artists, and kind of figure out what they would like to do. Unfortunately, staff hasn't had a great time getting in touch with them recently. So, but we are still working on that to get, a response from them and some direction from them. However, I did want to open it up to the committee. There was just talk of potentially increasing costs for another project. Now, budgets don't necessarily work like checking accounts. So not spending $10,000 on one project doesn't necessarily, we just move them all into the other one. However, if we are going to adjust the PAPP, which may need to be necessary for Chair Gatch's project call for artists that he brought in earlier, we could do it at the same time of moving the community mural funds away from the PAPP. Staff is also still more than willing to chat with the artist and bring any ideas back to the arts committee if you would like to continue on the debunking stereotypes through muralism premise. And if the past artists have new artists, or open discussion, what you would like to take as the next steps. Just so everybody knows, the other difficulty in this is that Pet View Hospital, which was originally the single location for the mural, because remember the Dana
Meyer,
thank you, Dana Meyer Auto and the Pet View Hospital kind of face each other. So the murals were on either side. Dana Meyer is still in, and they have also said that the artist can use their insurance. They would need to, that all needs to be settled behind outside of meetings with staff, but Dana Meyer has been open to that. However, Hillview Pet Hospital can no longer support the mural there for business reasons and permanence reasons. So the project has changed. It is just one mural. However, we have potentially maybe solved some insurance issues. But we do need to find that artist, and we do need to take the next steps with the artist. So those are the details. Anything that the arts committee would like to do, I do suggest put it in a motion again so that we can take the next steps. And also just know that staff will continue to try to contact the artists because we do want to get some closure on what they were selected to do and just weren't unfortunately able to finish.
all right, so we will have questions from the committee, followed by public comment, followed by final committee discussion.
I have a question. Were there other artists considered for this project, and how long it would? We don't
I think you're cutting out on us, Member Samansky.
know.
I did hear, were there other
I'm
artists?
sorry.
You know, Chair, Member Samansky, I was not the staff liaison at that time, so I can't answer that right off the top of my head. However, I can certainly do some research and look back into it. That would, again, first we should decide what to do with the current artists and if we would like to continue to pursue them.
Gotcha.
And bring them to a future meeting. But then after that, yeah, I can answer any questions about previous applicants.
Any other questions from committee? Oh, Member Black?
I don't have a question, and maybe this is not the appropriate time to say this, but I'm a little concerned about having to hunt up the artists wherever they are, even though they did a good job for us until it didn't get anywhere. And the COVID and they're leaving the country, all of that kind of stuff. I think we should. I think it's kind of futile to go ahead
Just bringing in here,
with that. It
zoning out.
So my question is, can we go ahead and start over? Would that be easy? Easier? This is ridiculous.
Liam, any thoughts on that? Is that an easier way to proceed?
At this, you know, donning my staff liaison hat, it's hard for me to say that as a staff member without talking with the artists yet. So I'm not sure if it were harder or easier. I do know that June-ish was when they were planning on leaving the country. So maybe the reason why I'm having a difficult time reaching them is that they might not be in the country. I am certainly happy to do so. And I can also report back in July. I mean, if the committee does not feel if the committee feel like they want to hear back from the artists before making a decision on that, staff will certainly continue to reach out to them until we get you an answer. We just haven't heard back from them yet.
Since we already have approval in the work plan for murals, can we have just a kind of rolling application process for murals? And as these opportunities kind of come up, then we're working with the artists and with the property owner to cite them?
I am not prepared to answer that question right now, but I certainly will figure it out. And I do know that with the last time that there was a community projects mural, was there a community projects call? It was a rolling application. They were submitted through over the course of months. And then I believe that was in November is when the committee reviewed them all. But I will need to get you a firmer answer than that, Chair Gatch.
Okay. And I think on the city website, there is even a statement saying that for public projects that people can submit proposals, right? So if for example, if artists submitted proposals for murals through the public projects aspect, is it possible to also consider them for this location?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will have to get you a legal answer on that. However, the point of the community projects was it was at the $10,000 threshold, and I think that the other one was below that. So again, I just need to make sure that they are pulling from similar resources, informational resources, right? Like whether it's the call for artists or the rolling application. But one thing, it does sound like that there is some options to maybe, it sounds like being a little bit more flexible potentially with this application or this money. So I can certainly come back to the committee with what are our legal options at the next meeting. And if I hopefully hear back from the artists, with some next steps options, if that's something that could be helpful.
Are there any additional questions from committee members before we open it up to public comment? Okay, and do we have public comment?
Yes, there is one public comment. So we'll get our timer going here in just 1 second, and we will bring in the public comment momentarily. All right. Every time it does that, it jumps out of there. Okay, you ready to go whenever, Jeremiah?
Thank you. So I think this is the agenda item I emailed everybody, or the pictures. Did you all get those? Did you receive those? Anybody get to see the pictures of murals?
Your email was sent to the arts. I can confirm that the email was received by the arts committee email box. Maybe our committee member. So it's not the time. I'm sorry, Jeremiah.
Oh, that's okay. Okay, great. Well, you know, I just think murals is a wonderful thing. If possibly you could remind the public after my comment, what are the approved locations, or where was this mural gonna go? And also, Chair, gosh, I really like your idea of this rolling enrollment plan for murals. I think that's a great idea. It seems like the $10,000 kind of sounds like it's going to go toward one artist. I was wondering if there was a way to include more artists, you know, divide the $10,000 up in $1,000 increments, and you get 10 different artists. I don't know if that's possible, but I just think, you know, encouraging more and more artists is wonderful. You know, I just can't wait to see Albany with murals everywhere, social justice, and a lot of good things going on. That way things can be transparent and be visible to the public. And so if you get a chance to look at the murals, I emailed you guys. Murals are beautiful. And, you know, I think it would be great if Albany had a tourist attraction. I mean, there's a lot of tourists here in the Bay Area, and there's a lot of tourists, and I think Albany might be missing out on some tourist attractions, but murals could be a great thing for that. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jeremiah. Are there any other public comments?
There are no public comments at this time.
Okay, so we come back to committee. Is there an agenda item that we're trying, like an action item that we're trying to move forward with here? Or is this just an update?
No, I just really quickly wanted to just address the public comment there. Again, my apologies. I did not mean to take away from anybody's public time. The murals are on Castro and San Pablo. Castro is the street that goes up into Albany Hill, and it splits Dana Meyer on the north and Hillview Pet Hospital on the south. And that was the two locations for the mural. And then for the committee, this is fine. It sounds like coming back with a few more options of what we could potentially do, hearing your thoughts, is certainly what I can do at the July meeting.
Just one comment to Jeremiah, just as a reminder. I thought the images were really great that you sent us. If you are inclined to reach out to any artist that might be muralists that want to do murals, they can absolutely submit a proposal through the proposal process, and then it can be reviewed. We don't, you know, the members of the committee won't be the ones that'll paint the mural. So so even if you have great images of murals, that's not necessarily what we have the capacity to do. But if you do know of artists that are muralists, they can submit proposals. All right, any final discussion from committee members? Okay, then we will move forward to agenda item 6.4, which is public art registry. And I think this is also a staff item.
Yeah, just another one that I wanted to have on the agenda really quickly, as we have new members. and a new chair and new staff. Again, sadly, goodbye to Eva. At the last meeting, there was a future agenda items and discussed a little bit by members of how to have a capture all of the art in Albany. And I just wanted to remind some of the new members, we do have a public art registry. It's also in the Arts Master Plan, describes it. I can assist any member that wants to work on it. We need to double check if it's on our work plan. I think it could be noted in many different ones, such as, including the art in Albany and including beautification items of Albany. Anyways, I just wanted everyone to know that we do already have that. If a committee member would like to pick it up and kind of fresh gussy it up and have an archive feel to it, staff can certainly help with that. But it is an option. And if somebody puts their name next to it, they can work directly with staff or with that subcommittee. So super quick update, just wanted to put it on the minutes.
So Liam, this is something that exists at City Hall somewhere?
A website, but yes.
A website. It is a website.
Yes.
It's not, okay. So is this just city property that the artwork is on, city art, or is it also private?
Yeah, we should, I can send you the link and you can take a look at it, but there are no, it's all public because there were some of the pieces that were down at the Albany Bulb were on there. At one point, they no longer are. Even the Cordonesis little bird at the Cordonesis Creek crossing is on there. And I think that there has been some discussions on who actually controls that and who put that art in. So no, it's just hey, I saw, just as you had mentioned it last time, hey, I saw something cool in Albany. How would I know where that is or what that is? And that is how the public art registry has been used.
Okay, so it's not about assigning who's responsible for this if something happens to it. It's really just a list of things we would like to keep or notice or have.
To show, yeah, to show off. Yeah, that's
okay.
A cool thing.
Okay. And is there documentation on how and when it was done? Is that the kind of thing it is?
Yes, yes. Okay, those are dates, times, costs. As long as we have them and there are projects, yes, they're included as well.
Okay.
I can send all of the community members a link, and also in your master plan, there's a paragraph on it.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other comments from committee members? It is an agenda item, so do we have public comment on this? Okay.
There's no public comment on this in this nature.
Okay, and if there's no further discussion from the committee, then we can move on to agenda item 7, which is future agenda items. Are there any future agenda items that the committee would like to place? You can, of course, always email staff later on for future agenda items as well.
The haiku program, and I suppose actually we should talk about the poet laureate position, which is currently vacant.
And Liam, if you can also put the Creative Justice Art Project, and we can at least have an update.
And I can come back with the community projects.
Okay.
And sculpture loan if we have anything.
Great. All right, do we do public comment for future agenda items?
We do not do public comment for future agenda items.
Okay. Then the next meeting will be Monday, July 12th at 7 p.m. So thank you once again, everyone. Look at that, 8:15. Well done, my friends. Enjoy the rest of the month, and I'll see you